Did you receive? Let me see if I got an email. Email. Give me a second. See it first. All right. All right. So we'll get started. Man, it's 3 minutes after. So thank you. All right. So this is being recorded. Thank you for joining me in this discussion. And the purpose of this discussion is to just simply go through the class. I introduce myself, go through the class, go through the objectives of the class, and go through the syllabus.
Okay.
So, given that you get this one-on-one session, could you just introduce yourself? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me a little bit about your operations and supply chain management experience, if any.
Well, yes. Actually, I am a parts procurement specialist for Henry Ford Health Systems.
Okay.
So, basically, this is a new program. It started 3 years ago. Um, to cut costs, I with a team of people, I basically order all the parts and supplies for the clinical engineering department at all five Henry Ford hospitals.
Interesting, interesting. So you already know quite a bit about this. So you're gonna teach me a few things, huh?
Yeah.
All right, excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, so as it pertains to the class, um, this class was revamped. It was I think I revamped this class March timeframe. So we got feedback from the last class that took the course, and we made a few adjustments for this class. And just as you see within your operation, we always strive for continuous improvement, right?
Right.
So if you're watching this recording as we progress through the class, if you see any issues or any areas of improvement, just reach out so we can make adjustments for the next class. Okay.
Okay.
So as you have reviewed the class here, and you go to, well, let me introduce myself. So I know I did a brief introduction in the video, but I'm Justin Golson. I am going to be your mentor and coach throughout this class. I have spent a number of years within the management consulting area, and I primarily worked with manufacturers and distributors. Some of the primary distributors I work with would be, as I said in the video, Blue Buffalo, Siemens, and Intel. I would say that I had one of the I would say that my most exciting one was the Blue Buffalo contract, where the project, I should say, where it was a Blue Buffalo was $100 million organization whenever I started with them, and they just were sold to General Mills, I think 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, for 8 billion. So
Okay.
I worked with them for a good 7, 8 years on improving their supply chain network and improving their business processes. Where I essentially began with them in implementing their ERP application, but then that continued even once I left the organization in which they implemented the ERP application with. I continued to work with them on operational type initiatives. So I have quite a bit of experience from a startup perspective to those global Fortune 500 organizations.
Okay.
So as we go through the class, please go through the start here. Not my start here, but so from the course information, you're going to get that course overview. So please go through this. So as it pertains to the course outline, again, we're going for the first week. We're going to provide you with an introduction to operations and supply chain strategy. We're going to give you an introduction to, what is operations management. We're going to give you an introduction to, what is an organization's supply chain strategy. I have discussed with a number of institutions, a number of leaders, in that organizations are currently reevaluating their supply chain strategies with the current pandemic, and that there have been a lot of exposure to
Yeah.
supply chains, especially in healthcare, right?
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunity in that area. I've been speaking with a lot of organizations in that area. I have been working with institutions to essentially redevelop their programs because
Okay.
pre-COVID, we've had supply chain programs that were built in the 80s and were kind of, on autopilot because much hadn't changed. But with the onset of the pandemic, we have seen the importance of technology, the importance of artificial intelligence, the importance of machine learning, the importance of blockchain, and you'll hear me talk a lot about all those because that's my primary research interest within the supply chain industry. And that's what I'm working with a lot of institutions on, as well as organizations. So,
Okay.
so we're going to talk a lot about all those supply chain strategies in week one. We're going to talk about supply chain strategy every single week.
Okay.
All right. So in week two, we're going to talk about processes, capabilities, innovation, and manufacturing. So you have the process capability. So you're going to have your steps within a process. I got a 5-month-old in the house. So that's what you hear in the background. So you have the process capability where within a hospital, I always say that, we have our nursing capacity, we always have our theoretical capacity of how many patients that nurse can serve, but now you have a demonstrated capacity of how many he or she actually serves on per shift. So that's what we're going to talk about in terms of process capability, in terms of product innovation, especially now with technology, and as quickly as technology is changing the landscape. We're going to talk a lot about product innovation, and one of the greatest statements that I like to say is, a competitive advantage is only temporary. And you can only maintain a competitive advantage within an industry through innovation.
Mm.
So and whenever people ask me, what is it, so for undergrads, they ask me, okay, what's the key in getting supply chain? I say you have to keep up with technology. So
Yeah.
because technology is going to change everything. Technology is going to, it's not just a supply chain industry. Technology is going to change every single industry.
Mhm.
And I would say that healthcare is not a laggard in that case. And I would say that artificial intelligence is part of the reason where we're at now in terms of finding a vaccine. Where the the population feels that it's slow, but look at 5 years ago when we're trying to get vaccine. It took years.
Yeah. Mhm.
Now we're 6 months, 8 months into it, and we're getting pretty close. We're pretty close.
Right.
And part of the reason for that is for artificial intelligence, because it would take researchers years to figure out probable medications to fight this virus. But
Mhm.
with all of the data that we have, we can input that within an artificial intelligence tool, and they run the algorithms and they output a potential result in literally seconds. So I do a lot of research with Penn State, and Penn State actually did a great webinar about 4 months ago, and how they were doing that, and how they were using artificial intelligence to find areas in the state of Pennsylvania that were essentially hot pockets for the pandemic. They were using what we refer to as predictive analytics, to predict where the next outbreak was going to be, right?
Mhm.
Before it actually happened. So artificial intelligence is going to be a primary input to that product innovation, and manufacturing and service. That is my primary areas that I work with in the industry, and we're going to talk about those processes in week two. In week three, we're going to talk about inventory fundamentals, lean systems. So if you've heard of the term lean and Six Sigma, um, have you heard of Lean and Six Sigma within a hospital?
Oh, I don't know what happened.
I made you upset. Thought I got you upset on that one.
Uh-uh.
Have you heard, have you heard of lean in your hospital?
I'm sorry.
I said, have you heard of lean in your hospital? The term lean?
Uh-uh.
Okay. So lean and Six Sigma are terms that are used often within the healthcare industry, in that the objective of lean is to reduce waste. So that could be reduced from a wasteful from an activity perspective, from a inventory perspective, and then the objective of Six Sigma is to reduce variation. So you'll hear those terms used like combined with each other, and that's because you kind of combine the two disciplines where you're going to reduce waste, but at the same time you want to reduce variation as well. So
Okay.
so you're also so that's just the primary areas we're going to look at when we look at week three. We're also going to look at different types of inventory in week three. Within week four, we're going to talk about the management of customers, the management of suppliers, the management of logistics, of getting the products from point A to point B, and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So that's what we're going to look at when we get to week four. Week five is we hit quite a few topics. Each one of these topics could be a standalone week, but we did include all those within 1 week itself, where we
Okay.
talk about the importance of quality. So I know that you evaluate the cost of poor quality within the healthcare system, because the cost of poor quality within the healthcare system could really, in extreme case, could result in the loss of life. You know,
Absolutely.
so we look at the cost of poor quality from a variety of different industries. We also look at demand forecasting. So demand forecasting is a huge problem right now in a variety of industries. And some people will argue with me that you can't forecast right now, because you have what I refer to as artificial spikes, where you're still seeing the remnants of March and April, when everyone was
Mm-hmm.
trying to get PPE, everyone was trying to get gloves, everyone was trying to get hand sanitizer and things like that. So there are a number of tools that can actually identify those outliers, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
that can kind of mitigate, and we can try to get back to a true forecasting system. Also, within week five, we're going to talk about sales and operations. So, sales and operations planning is a tool to kind of create that synergy among departments within an organization. I'm pretty sure that you've heard of organizations working in silos.
Yeah.
Where sales has tunnel vision, purchasing has tunnel vision, manufacturing has tunnel vision, things like that. HR has tunnel vision. So that sales and operations planning kind of looks at that long range plan, and works together with each other to say, okay, what's the budget, and what are you forecasting a sale, in this time frame, and then everyone comes to a consensus as to what our operating plan should be, what our production plan should be. And then in demand inventory, that's where we're going to kind of look at that demand management, and look at kind of what are we seeing from a customer buying perspective.
Mm-hmm.
We looking at that a lot within the industry, especially the pandemic has uncovered some challenges, as everyone would imagine, and that we have to find new ways to anticipate what customers want. And in terms of demand inventory, we're using tools in forecasting called demand sensing. And demand sensing will essentially pull information over, so that it will, what we call, scrape information from the internet. Right. So it will scrape information from Facebook. It'll scrape information from Instagram. It'll scrape information from YouTube. Right. And it'll scrape, and it will actually analyze this, what we refer to as unstructured data. So unstructured data is, when you type in a comment, right, or when you type
Right.
something in Facebook, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
look for patterns and trends, and it's going to input that into my ERP system, and that's going to be used as a forecast to say, okay, the industry is saying this, so this particular thing is going to be trending up. So of course hand sanitizer was trending up in March and April. But
Mm,
now that everyone is somewhat, I'm not going to say fully stocked. Now everyone is somewhat stocked. That demand hand sanitizer, if we look at demand sensing, is somewhat trending back down, right?
right.
So that's going to impact the buying behaviors of, or the replenishment, I should say,
Mm,
behaviors of distribution centers. It's going to impact the production of some manufacturers. So that's a lot of that's some of the things we're going to talk about within that week. And again, I mean, this stuff is these topics are things that have just emerged within the last three or 4 months.
yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so week 6, we're going to talk about my favorite topic is the planning topic, and we're going to talk about enterprise resource planning systems. I implement ERP systems for a number of years. I wrote a book on ERP systems, so that's my favorite week. I'm biased, but so and that's why I did a whole week on it. But so we're gonna talk about material requirements planning, how we plan for materials. And then we're also going to talk about, yes, these applications are good, they're great, but you need project management to successfully implement all of those solutions. So once we have these solutions in place, so for example, once we have decided that we want to implement an ERP system. Once we have decided that we're going to implement artificial intelligence, once we decide that we're going to implement machine learning, now we have to let the organization know about this change, and we have to get buy-in from the users. And
Mm-hmm.
that goes into our week 7 in organizational change management. And whenever you see, and it's not just supply chain management, this is within any project. So with any financial project, any leadership project, any marketing project, it takes organizational change management to influence that change, so that you can get
Mm-hmm.
adoption within the organization. So that whole week is, how you're going to influence change, how you explain the why within the organization. Why are we implementing this?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the last week, and I think that that's the most important week,
Okay.
because we can all this stuff is all well and good, but if we don't adopt it, if we don't have that organizational change management, every single one of these things will topple. Every
Yeah.
single one of these things will fail.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's an amazing week. I mean, if I had extra week, we would be talking 2 weeks about change management. So because it's very important. So that's what we're going to go through within this class. Before we actually go through the deliverables, I'm going to stop there and ask you if you have any questions.
No questions.
Okay. Anything to add in terms of your experience and how what we're going to review is applicable to your role?
I'm like right in the meat of everything. To your point, especially working within a hospital. I mean, everything's so drastic,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're correct. Like you have to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
We have to adapt to the change, and things that we may not have thought about having to order, we have to have on demand now.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to find those vendors and those distributors, and you know try to stock up the best we can. And having the correct data is the most important thing.
Yes,
You gotta have the
absolutely.
data.
Absolutely, garbage in, garbage out is the name of the game, and
Yeah,
that's another thing that a lot of people think that the ERP system is magic bullet. They think that artificial intelligence is a magic bullet, but in order for artificial intelligence to work effectively, you need correct data.
exactly.
All it's doing is reading the data to give you and give you suggestions. That's all it's doing.
Yeah,
It's not rocket science,
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah,
people try to make it out to be rocket science, but actually, it's very simple.
exactly.
You know, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm not going to say it's rudimentary, but the use cases are things we've done every day. We've just automated them. It's
Mhm.
not it's not it's not it's not that it's not as complex as the name thinks it, or
Right, but it could be difficult if you don't have an updated system.
That's very true. That's very
Yeah,
true. And that's
yeah.
one thing I'm talking about at a conference in a couple weeks, where I'm going to talk to industry leaders about, you have to evaluate your artificial intelligence maturity.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I say artificial intelligence maturity, you have to look at your people, process, and technology aspects, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you have to say, okay, for your people, are your people ready for this artificial intelligence? Do they understand it, right?
Right.
Are they going to
Mm-hmm.
embrace it? And
Yeah.
it comes down to, for the people aspect, it comes down to the education, in that we're not going to take jobs away with artificial intelligence. You still need some human review, you still need some human intervention. And from the process perspective, what processes are going to be automated, and what processes still need that 100% human, overview, or human operation, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, to that technology piece, it goes exactly what you say. Is your data in order? Is your house, what one of my peers used to say, one of my coworkers used to say, is your house in order? Is your
Exactly.
data,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he would say, okay, you tell me your house is in order, prove it. Let me see your data.
Mm-hmm.
95% of the time, it wasn't in order,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
so and because there's so much of it. There's so
Yeah,
much of it.
it is. Yeah.
And it's almost impossible to keep on top of it. And that's why data analysts, that's a full-time job, and they pay very well, very, very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
These artificial intelligence, these data scientists that specialize in artificial intelligence, they're getting paid 200,000 right now, and they're
Mm-hmm.
flying. They're flying off the shelf.
Yeah. Exactly.
They can't. There, there's
Yeah.
not. There's not enough supply of them,
It's
to
not.
meet the demand. And like I said, that 200,000 sounds large, but these people can develop algorithms that can save organizations that 200,000 in a matter of 2 months, probably,
Yeah.
easily, easily, easily. So that $200,000 is nothing if you put it in the context of how much savings that person's going to make by developing an algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the industry is going. And like I said, I'm talking about the artificial intelligence maturity of organizations. We talk about how to get your house in order. We talk about how you probably can't go to artificial intelligence if you're still operating off Excel spreadsheets.
Exactly.
Gotta take baby steps, right? I'm
Here.
not, I'm not gonna be.
I
I'm not gonna.
hate it. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe that they're so behind like this. It's so annoying. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, but you know what? I mean, that's the reality, and you're not alone, because a lot of organizations are like that, and that's why I tell people. I said that's what paid my bills for a good 20 years. Getting people's house in order,
yeah,
because they realize the benefit once it does get in order,
yeah.
because
They're
it's a,
they're
it's a competitive
trying, but it's
advantage.
like, they're moving so slow. It's like this.
Yeah, but the thing is, it goes down to that last week. It goes down to organizational change,
Hmm.
and it starts with the change of the leadership.
Hmm.
And for those data projects you're talking about, leadership thinks that's an IT project, or it's an organization wide project,
It is.
and
Yeah.
that's the missing piece.
Hmm.
Because a data analyst, a technical person is not going to understand the data from your HR department, from your sales department, from your forecasting department. They just see ones and zeros. They just see text fields. That's all I care about. So
Yeah.
it's an organization wide initiative to kind of scrub your data, to ensure that data is accurate. And once that data is accurate, oh man, your data is a competitive advantage. So I was listening to he calls himself an AI evangelist,
Mm.
and he made one interesting comment. He said data is oil right now. He said data is oil. He said
Yeah.
data is valuable.
Hmm.
And if you think about it, think about how much the data that Amazon has is worth.
Oh
Think about
yeah.
how much the data that Facebook has is worth,
Hmm.
that you're just giving away for free,
Yeah.
right?
Ooh,
And
wee.
you don't think that Facebook is protecting that like you wouldn't believe,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that my thing is data allowed Amazon and Google and Facebook to be some of the largest organizations in the world, Netflix to be some of the largest organizations in the world, right? 5 or 6 years ago, you were clicking through Netflix. It's like, how the that movie looks good. I wonder how they knew that. It's AI,
Yeah.
right? You go on Amazon, it's like, I hate this AI. Ooh, this looks good. Let me get something for my baby. I think she'll like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
AI probably cost me about $5,000 the last 2 months because
Mm-hmm.
it's taking the information that people and it's doing what we call clustering. So it's clustering what I bought with what other people bought,
Yeah.
and it's pulling that into my on my screen using artificial intelligence and machine learning,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's see that you could say that's AI for good, but I'm saying that you can use that same exact algorithm, that same exact thing to use within the healthcare industry
Oh
where
yeah.
you can pull like similar things. You can cluster just like that and find similar symptoms for things, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
can see what someone's symptom is if you think that they have COVID symptoms, right? And then you can cluster that data, and they can kick out they can run AI can kick out and say there's a this percentage probability this person has COVID before he even goes to see the doctor, right?
Yeah.
Right there when they check in, their receptionist can type in those symptoms and get that percentage right there
Yeah.
in 3 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
if that,
Yeah.
right? So that's the power of your data, but data's got to be in order before you can get there.
Absolutely.
So whenever we go through the syllabus, we went through the weeks, as it pertains to the assignments. You will have a number of discussion posts, and before this class had 2 discussion posts each week. I thought that was a lot. So you're going to have discussion posts, not every week, but you're going to have a split between discussion posts and assignments. And for the weeks that you do have discussion posts, the initial posts are going to be, well, it's due. It says due on day 3. I'll tell you right now, I'm flexible between 3 and 4 on that initial post. I am flexible on 3 and 4, but I cannot give extensions on day 7 on your peer responses. Not unless you reach out to me. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I will say that if you are traveling and you are unable to have an initial post by day 7, I'll ask that you do initial post but that week before you leave. Okay.
Right.
I mean, because the posts are not for you to just have a checkbox to say I responded to this post. The purpose of the post are for you to interact. The purpose of the post are for you to learn from your peers, and to learn different perspectives, based on the topic, because we all come from different industries, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's all about. It's not just about for the assignment. It's about to learn. So that's a big missed opportunity for a number of people within these programs. So I say that I'm flexible between 3 weeks, days 3 and 4 on your initial post, but please get your 2 peer responses in by day 7. Okay.
Okay.
Um, in terms of your assignments, you will have a number of assignments. So in week 1, you have your discussion post, as I said, or your video discussion. For your video discussion, I forgot to mention that for that video discussion, you do not have to respond to your peers. That's completely optional. I will say that that's completely optional in that post. In that week one reflection paper, that's gonna be 100 points in our first week, our current week that we're in. We also have a reflection or participation in week 2, and then you also have another one in week 2. Uh, in week 3, you have a individual presentation. Week 4, you have a supplier code of conduct. So within a supplier code of conduct, I think I switched this one. Let me go to the supplier code of conduct. So I think I switched it.
Okay.
Um, let's see here. Let me see. Come on. Yeah, so supply, because originally I selected like a hypothetical company, but I want you to select your own company. So either select your company or select a company where you can find that does not have a supplier code of conduct.
Okay.
Because if you select one that has a supplier code of conduct, you're not doing any work, right? So it's preferred that you create your supplier code of conduct for your own organization. That way you can create this document, get the feedback, and then present it to your leadership of your organization, right?
Okay.
And that's one of the most important things, in that when I created outside of the simulation, whenever I created these assignments, I want these assignments to be purposeful, where you can actually take these assignments, and in most cases, take these assignments and submit them within your organization to make a change, right? Especially with that supplier code of conduct assignment, and then also with your final assignment, never mind, different class. With this product code of conduct, that's the biggest one, where I want you to frame it based on your organization, so that you can present it to your organization. So I think that final assignment, if you're taking a corporate social responsibility class, if you haven't taken that yet, that one was also revamped, and I did do a final project that has been very beneficial to a number of people. So if you haven't taken that one, that final project's very good, very very good. So that's a supplier code of conduct assignment. Again, try to frame it like within your organization, and then you have another paper that's due. And feedback that I received last class is that these two big back-to-back papers, I've given some leeway in terms of submission dates for that individual paper. So just keep that in mind. Again, I do not want people to rush by any means to just submit something just to hit the deadline. Now, I don't want you submitting 15. You don't want you to submitting 4 papers the last week of class, but I want you to keep in mind that this class is all about to make sure that you are learning the content, making sure that you're able to apply, and making sure that you're creating something that you can present to your organization. Okay,
Okay.
that's my primary objective, and I will also say that my peers disagree with me, but to me, it's not all about the grade; it's about what you learn. I
Mm.
mean, you can have a 4.0 and go through this class just by understanding the book and just understanding the content. But if you can't apply it, you're gonna struggle in the industry.
Right.
So, and I shared this with a lot of people, in that I had one student. He finished, this is an undergrad now, but I will say that this is undergrad, but he finished second in the class. And I sent him to a very an organization very well. And the hiring manager, the director came, contacted me and said, Justin, he said, this guy's brilliant. He said, but when he gets faced with a situation, he cracks.
Mm.
And he cracks.
Mm.
He said he's very, 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 very smart. He said, but he cracks under pressure. He said I can't. He said there's no value in the industry that we're in. You know, and it's difficult. And I had another situation where very smart student, but and then another manager said, this guy can't communicate. Right?
Right.
He said he would be a brilliant programmer.
Mm-hmm.
He said, but consulting, not so much. so you have to, and that was a learning curve. That was a learning experience for me, where it's not just about the grade. It's not about how brilliant a person, an individual is. It's about how they're able to apply it.
Right.
It's about how they're able to, and I think we've all seen that. We've all seen
Mhm.
that, and that's one thing I want to stress, and that that's why I make these purposeful assignments. That's why I include these group assignments, and that's why I kind of create a balance between assignments and communication, from a technological platform. So that's the, and also, you have the simulation in week 6. I think around week 3 or 4, you have to go sign in to ensure that you can sign in. We had a big problem. It was on the Harvard Business, the Harvard Business Publishing in, that they gave us. They gave us a different password. So once you begin to approach that final week, please try to log into that Harvard Business as soon as you can. That way we can resolve that situation if it arises once again. So I just ask that you do that. Okay.
And
Uh,
what week is that?
let's see here. So the simulations in week 6. I
Okay.
think in week 4 I have requested. I think in week 4 I requested that you sign in to Harvard Business Weekly
Okay.
Materials. Give me a second. I'll let you know for sure.
Okay.
It's like in the thinking ahead section. Uh, week 4, maybe week 5. Yeah, week ahead. Yeah. So if you go to week 5
Okay.
and then you scroll down to looking ahead, that's whenever I say to kind of take a look at that Harvard simulation. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to be proactive in this, because I made assumptions last time that everything was going to be okay, just like the last class, but it wasn't. So I'm going to be proactive in ensuring that course code is accurate and good and ready to go before you even get to that week. So I'll send an announcement just to make sure we're like 3 weeks in advance to make sure that everyone's able to log in.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
All right.
No
All
questions.
right. Thank you for joining me. So I'm not talking to myself. And
No problem.
you got the email, or you got the announcement, or both?
Both. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. All right. I
Yep.
just wanted to make sure.
Yep. I
I
got
know
both.
that, I know it was like 2 days in advance, so I know that was a late notification on my part. But so yeah, so as soon as this is over, as soon as this recording is downloaded, I'm going to upload the link to this recording on the announcements, and then you also receive an email of this recording.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I look forward to working with you.
You too.
Thanks again.
You have a good evening.
All right. You as well.
Bye.
All right.